Welcome back to Well, Well, Well. It's your host, Laura, and this is the podcast where we discuss the businesses behind the scenes in the wellness and fitness industry and how they intersect with just about everything in our lives today. On today's episode, we have Kenzie Wesp, who is the owner, founder, and dreamer behind Trueform Fitness and The Format in Nashville. She has grown to 4 locations quickly and is not stopping there. And this woman is not just a ray of sunshine, she is a powerhouse. At just 25 years old, she has taken Nashville by storm, and she's done it in a way that is very intentional behind culture, team, and how she builds community. Everything at each studio, including the interactions with your teacher, the front desk staff, the management, and Kenzie herself, is all about belonging. We can't wait for you to hear how she's designed this culture and how she intends to scale. Welcome to the show, Kenzie. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. So Kenzie and I had a chance to meet at the Reboot Retreat in Texas a few weeks ago. And gosh, I was floored by your energy, your story, we sat on a panel together about leadership essentially in the fitness space. And I don't know, I just felt like you've got something special and I couldn't wait for our guests to hear from you. So,
aw, so sweet.
yeah, it was awesome. Well, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your background. I think we spent a lot of time talking about what you're doing now, but tell the Well family how you landed into fitness and what's kind of shaped your path to where you are now.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. And it was so much fun. We all left the weekend you're talking about specifically was like a retreat really for studio owners. And
yes,
I left so encouraged. And a huge part of that was because of your encouragement. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. Good.
Yeah, I feel like my story and how I even got into this is unique just because the turnaround time from really like my love for movement and wellness into my career was so quick. But I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was a competitive dancer. And I feel like we see this trend a lot in the movement and fitness world is yes, there's a lot of athletes that kind of go into that, weight training esque, but then there's something about this like dance and cheer world that just like automatically pulls into Pilates, Legree, bar, all the like boutique studio concepts, yoga. And so I am one of those. I was a competitive dancer. I danced in college at the University of Mississippi. And after my freshman year, I had an injury that it no longer made sense for me to continue to just kind of harp my body in the way that I was doing college dance team. And so when I moved back to Nashville from Oxford, I was like, well, I have to do something because I was used to waking up at 6 a.m. for workouts and then dancing all the time. And now I need to find kind of like where I need to move my body. And I found a Legree studio that was here in town that was just kind of the perfect avenue for me to start moving. And so I started working out at that studio as a sophomore in college. And throughout my college experience is really when I started to better understand not just movement, but also wellness. So I really fell in love with nutrition and holistic medicine and just kind of that whole world of like crunchiness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yes. And so then going into my senior year of college, deciding what I wanted to do, I was in school for psychology. So I really thought that I was going to be a family therapist because my goal, I was like, I want to help people. Like if I can do anything in life, it's that I want to help people. And at the time, I feel like it was like, you were a nurse, you were a doctor, you could be a therapist. Like there were these very specific areas of quote unquote helping people, and movement or teaching people movement never felt like that was possible for that specific desire. And it wasn't until going into my senior year that I decided I wanted to get certified in Legree. And so through the studio I was working out at, they encouraged me to get certified. So in 2021, I went and got certified in LA right at like the height of COVID. They were finally letting people kind of fly. And so I flew out to LA, I got certified, and it was a huge, crazy like whirlwind after that. But essentially started teaching, and I'm a very obsessive personality and I'm a committed person. And so I didn't just start teaching, but I was like, oh, all I want to do is teach all day long. So I started taking as many subs and I started teaching as much as I possibly could. And ultimately the opportunity to actually take over the location and branch of that studio that I had been working at and working out at for so many years came to be in April of it, like right whenever it was like 2021 into the new year of 22 is when they first approached me. And so that is how I got into like wellness and movement. And then my story of how I got into studio ownership kind of started there, where they asked me to take over that location, and everything just kind of fell into place. And now we're working on Studio 4 of a different concept. So I own Two Degree Studios, and then started a hot Pilates studio brand too.
Yeah. I'm excited to dive into that. Like
yes, the segue.
the decision making behind. Yes, exactly. All of that. But it's funny. You're one of our other clients in the Legree world kind of fell into the same situation you did. I think you met Becca, right? Or maybe you guys have connected.
Yes, she's the best.
Yes.
She has been such an amazing, that connection specifically came at such a sweet time, because it was right around the time I was given the opportunity. I was like, there's no way. I'm 21. Literally, I'm 21. I was about to graduate college, and I was like, there's just no way. Like I actually the reality is I said no to the initial opportunity. And then whenever I went to my family and was processing through it weeks later, they were like, why would you say no to that? That's an amazing opportunity. And one of my best friends that had moved here from San Diego, which is where you're at, she was like, when I was processing through this with her, she was like, Kenzie, oh my gosh, one of my best family friends, this same thing happened to her. So we actually have a mutual connection that connected us. And I talked to Becca, and she really encouraged me into it.
Yeah. I love that story so much, because it is, I mean, full transparency, funny for me, when Doug, my business partner here, asked me to start Walla, I said no twice before he got me to say yes to doing it. So it's funny. There are those moments in life, right, where it's like the stone appears, but you're so scared to take the lead because it's such a big leap. And then when you do it, the whole world lays out in front of you. It's so exciting. So congrats on having the courage to do that, because man, it is definitely not easy to step into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I always say it's almost my age was almost a blessing at that point in time, because I mean, you see it with toddlers. There's like no fear in these 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. And there was almost this like lack of fear going into it. I was like, well, I don't understand anything that has to do with big time business things. So I might as well do it, because there's no fear. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, you said one of my favorite things I've ever heard an entrepreneur say about risk. Maybe this is something you say a lot, but you were like, you know what? I just figured if I failed, I like peanut butter and jelly, and I could probably live in a cardboard box if I have to.
Yes, I always say that. I actually grew up with my mom saying that. My dad is an entrepreneur, and
okay.
My parents are just such risk takers. Like they moved us from Pittsburgh to North Carolina to Nashville, all within the span of a year. And
oh my gosh,
like you think of people moving locations, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're moving into a new state. Oh, you're moving twice to a new state. And so I grew up with almost this mentality of like, you know, if you feel like the call to move somewhere, or you feel the calling to go do something, like you have to do it. There's more risk in that. But she always said, she was like, hey, we could eat peanut butter and jellies and live in a cardboard box and life would be great. And I agree. And so I've kind of adapted that.
Oh, I love it. That made me smile when you said that, because I was like, gosh, if more people just had this mentality, we would probably have a lot of exciting things happening in the world.
Yes.
Okay, so this conversation, I'd love to kind of shift in the direction of the team that you've built at these two different studios, or two different brands, I should say. Part of the reason I wanted to bring you on so badly, not just because I was so inspired by your story getting going so young, but also you speak about culture and leadership and team building in a way that I don't know that I've ever heard anybody in their 20s speak to. You know, like you sound like such an old soul and somebody who's done this for lifetimes. So I'd love to hear from you when you started the Studio Novo, or I guess I shouldn't say when you took over Studio Novo, I think that was the first one. How did you think about team culture at that point? And I guess let's stop there. How did you think about team culture?
Yeah, no, for sure. Great starting point. And that was kind of the intro into the panel that we were on together. I know actually at the time, obviously was like willing to take this risk to become a studio owner. But also at the time, I was like drawing on my skill set, right? Because when you are, and I've learned to kind of come out of that, like using age as almost this like precursor of who I am or identity piece. And I actually had a mentor look at me a year ago, and she was like, Kenzie, you've got to stop talking about the age thing. And I was like, I know, but it's such a huge part of my story, because when you're 21 and you're starting to not only become a business owner for the first time, but really become a leader of that capacity for the first time, I had to draw on what I knew. And I had always been a part of a dance team. I had always been a part of leadership positions in a smaller role, right? Whether that be like a school program or whether that be, I was even in a sorority for a second and had a leadership role. And so one thing that I always relied on in those areas is how can we make people feel in these circles? How can we make people feel a part of something that they're not going to be a part of if they're not a part of it? And so going into studio ownership, I knew how to love people well and treat people well and hopefully create for myself a legacy that would encourage people to be honest with me, to call me higher, and that they wanted me to call them higher. And so it was stepping into that in 2021, 2022, when I took over the studio of like, I'm not good at a lot of things. I know I joked of like, I don't know how to open a bank account. I don't know how to write a check. I don't know any of these words that people are talking about. I was like, KPI, what the heck is that? Like, that sounds like a clothing store. And I was like, what are all these things? But I do know how to hopefully get people in my doors and stay in my doors. And not because I technically know all of these amazing reporting techniques that I now rely on in excess, but really just the human interaction piece and the connection piece. And so starting off, that was just really the backbone of our company, and creating the culture that now is Trueform and the culture that now is Format would never be the culture that is today if it weren't for those days of fully relying on how we are going to treat people and welcome them in and love on them and hear their story. Because I think one piece that's missing in all corporate America, take it outside of just fitness, is this like lack of human intentionality. And so that has been just such a foundation for us, especially as we've grown rather quickly.
Yeah. Well, I love the concept of calling you higher and calling them higher, because there is in many leaders a magneticism, right? Like people are naturally drawn to you, whether it be your clients, whether it be the team. And there's something about you being able to be present with those people. But it's a whole nother thing to step into a confident enough position that you can ask for more of people, and you can feel like you can drop your ego at the door and let them ask more of you, right? And I think there's a beautiful humility in you stepping into this role and really growing this business that is obvious from the outside, that you're like, listen, I'm here to learn and I'm fine. Like laugh at yourself that you don't know how to write a check or what a KPI is. That's great. But the ability to get the best out of people and to demand the best of yourself is such an incredible skill set.
That's something somebody had actually said yesterday. At the end of every year, and I've done this since I started, I do like end of year calls or FaceTimes with everybody on the team. And obviously starting out, I think we had 15 total people like locked into Trueform at first. And now amongst all the studios, I have 54 calls in the next 2 weeks, which is the best thing ever. And at first I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is definitely going to be a lot. But yesterday, one of my girls said on the phone, she was like, I work at multiple studios and like, I also work in corporate America, and I couldn't fathom my team of 12 in corporate America, my boss ever doing something like this from a call perspective. Like, what made you want to do this? And I told her, I was like, if I ever get too big to where I can't, I'm not me, but if the studios ever get too big to where they can't care as a boutique studio owner, they can't care about the hearts that are helping us stay open. Like, I don't understand how we can even remotely go into a new year saying that we want the best for our clients if we can't have the best for our team. And so it is almost in another thing we talked about on the panel that day is like, I need to constantly lay down my life and like constantly sacrifice myself, whether that's in terms of time, whether that's in terms of my own skills. Like I was talking to you before this, not feeling super great. And I was totally going to sub 2 classes this morning. If the girl said she wasn't feeling well, I was like, well, I need to sacrifice my body on behalf of this instructor. So there's this constant laying down that has to happen if I want that of my team. So all that to say, yesterday, I was like, wow, okay, it's encouraging to hear that from team members that have been a part of this now for so long, that this doesn't happen everywhere, but you kind of lose sight of like, not everybody's like that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you right now, not everybody is. There are people that haven't met with their instructors in years, but did you have any specific mentors or kind of guides, people who you look to learn a lot of this? Or yeah, tell me about the mentors and leadership you looked up to.
Yes. Such a great question. Well, I think like initially being a dancer and talk about this with so many other people in the arts, like there is this thing instilled within you, especially when you put that much time and energy. I mean, I went to school from 8 to 2, and then I would dance from 2 to 9:30 every day, Saturday and Sunday, all day long, dance competitions all the time. Like that was my life. And it was always instilled so deeply in me. Like, if you're going to commit to this, you have to commit to it wholeheartedly. And you're not only committing to this, but you're committing to the entire space, and you are a reflection of the entire space. And so I think carrying that in me was then also how I grew up. Like my parents are obviously my biggest role models, and just seeing the way that they were like, no, what we believe is going to exude out of us. And so looking at, obviously, though, that's like how I was raised and how I was born. I was also raised in a Christian home. And so when you're looking at a lot of these values that I personally hold as, the backbone of my life, like this is why I live, all of those things from a not just moral perspective, but also belief system. It's like, if I believe and I call myself a Christian and this is what I am, then this is how I need to live. And the number one thing in that I have always taken away from my faith specifically is like taking the shirt off my back and giving it to somebody else. So that belief system within myself, I feel like has 1000% structured my view of leadership. But I have had the amazing opportunity to also have very specific mentors now in the business space that have also continued to affirm and reaffirm that. And I mean, Hensley kind of stepped into my life really towards the end, not towards the end, but towards the backside of Trueform really hitting its growth spurt and then format being created. And she was always an encouragement to me of like, Kenzie, what you're doing is different. And from what she had seen. And it's also like really cool what's happening there. How can we tap into this further, but then also add this added layer of business? And so she has been somebody that I've really looked up to. And then there is a guy, actually, a man. He's much older than I, but he is amazing. And he is in the franchise space. And I've always looked up to him because he started, owned and operated a very amazing gym franchise. And one thing he always encouraged me into is like, the people that you bring at the very beginning are the people that are going to be there at the very, very end. So you fostering those relationships very early and caring deeply about not just who they are, but like how their family is, what's going on in their life behind the scenes, that is going to carry into your growth. And I think just because I have such a vision for this and such a 10-year plan, I'm like, okay, if that 10-year plan is going to happen, I need to really dig deep into the team that I have now. So definitely mentors. Also definitely I feel like the belief system that I just was raised in and believe to this day.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I mean, just thinking about what he's told you, what Hensley said, she's never seen anything like this. I'd love to hear, first of all, when you knew you had something special. And was it with Trueform? Was it the format? Why the kind of divestiture from Legree specifically? Tell us a little bit more about the choice to do all this.
For sure. I think at the very beginning, I mean, again, if we're bringing it back to like the origin story of how we started, very rarely is there somebody beginning something solely based off of like, oh, I have a vision for this culture in this community. It's oftentimes like, oh my gosh, like I want to bring the next best Pilates studio, or I have this amazing modality and method that I want to start. And so I think from the very beginning, like the tipping point at the beginning was starting something based off of a community, and really deeply enforcing that over some of maybe the other things that fitness studios were enforcing. And so our main flock to our concept at the beginning was people being like, wow, I feel different here. And this is like cultivated differently. And you guys focus on community events. And I have opportunities to see my instructors and my friends outside of this place because of this opportunity. And so at Trueform specifically grew to location 2 a year after we rebranded and a year and a half after I took over ownership. And that was amazing and so exciting. But I feel like that's a pretty normal trajectory of growth that we see with some boutique studio owners, is within a year and a half to 2 years, we see people starting to pursue location 2. And what happened in my story that I think is really unique is that we opened up the second Trueform, and that was in April of 2023. April of 2024 is when that was. And so opened that, and it was like a month into that I just saw this like immense desire and need for people to be into community-based fitness because we were coming into Nashville. There's Legree studios. There's corporate chains that are similar to Legree. There's, you can go anywhere and find it. But there was something that was pulling people and having people drive regardless of where we were at. And what started happening in my brain and in my heart was like, wow, okay, if people want community-based fitness, we need to put this everywhere. Well, then I obviously was dealing with the fact that I can't really do that with Legree. I love Legree. I honor them. And I think what they've created is amazing. But also I was then put at a limit because I can't technically bring on somebody to open up my studio without them paying two different licensees or, there's Legree in multiple places. And how are we going to really create this like booming brand if we're almost kind of under the guise of Legree, which again, I love and so grateful. I'm a studio owner for them. But that is where I was like, well, I'm not going to go and rip off their machines. We know what happened there. So not doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go and create like a similar concept. And so I started looking at, okay, not what is lacking in terms of concept, but what is lacking in terms of the community concept. And so, we have seen in Nashville so many amazing community-based bar studios, so many amazing community-based cycle studios. And I was like, there is nothing for mat and hot Pilates. And so that we opened Trueform one city in April, and in July we started and created the format, which is just actually looking back such a psycho timeline. But I had this epiphany of we don't just need hot Pilates, we need a community-based hot Pilates brand. And we don't just need that for Nashville, we need that everywhere because in my opinion, there's just nothing for that right now. You're not going to any sort of chain in any city and getting a hot Pilates studio that's replicable multiple places. And so really from the beginning, I had the vision for where hopefully it'll go and grow to. But that genesis really is the community. And so setting us apart. And I feel like what Hensley saw at the beginning and what other mentors have seen is like, wow, these numbers are populating so well. And it's gotta be because it's more than just a workout studio. And so embodying that community aspect, I feel like has been our bread and butter.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it is the kind of golden thread that I see amongst successful studios is there is something beyond the workout. And that's communicated through the marketing, through the brand experience, all the way from the first time you see that brand to, when you're a loyal member, you really, really feel it. So that's incredible to have that vision from the start. Now, when you think about all of this growth that you have planned, I mean, I love that you're starting with the end in mind there. It's such a not just smart way to go about it, but it's a way to stay motivated in a very challenging environment, right? How do you think about preserving this unbelievable culture that you've built?
Gosh, well, I think setting up guardrails has been huge of my biggest fear, and I love that this is my biggest fear, and I don't think that it's a wrong thing to have really healthy fears, is that it would perish or that it would go away over a course of time. Or I think one thing I really believed and that I had to kind of change that belief system and make changes so that it would happen is if Kenzie's not there, the community won't be there. Or if Kenzie's not present, like that feeling won't be there. And so preserving it really comes through, I feel like, hiring a team that understands it and believes in it even more than you. And that has been just so cool to see and so affirming for me because, at the end of the day, I don't need to hear like, oh my gosh, Kenzie, you make me feel this way. And I love how you've created the studios to be this way. I need to hear that my manager, my instructors, my front desk, like, oh my gosh, they are amazing. And they're coming to me and telling me that. And so I think preservation is making sure that like from the top down, people understand the mission and the calling. And so when we do onboard our team, it's like, sure, I will tell you how to operate front desk and I will tell you how to teach class in a week. But right now you have to understand and know like why we exist and what we are, who we are, at the end of the day, like what we expect. And 99.9% of the time, it's not how to deliver a great class. It's how to make somebody feel like they had the best class. And so I feel like preservation is just all about hiring in my perspective.
Yeah. And one of the things I really loved you speak to was actually the way you let people go too. Like you hold the bar high for your team and that bar is held high because you care so much about the client experience. And one of the things you mentioned was like, when you have a conversation parting ways with an employee, and that doesn't seem like it happens very often, but it's, you said something to the effect of, now you're free. Like, you don't have to live up to this expectation that clearly wasn't really something you either aligned with or could do. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Now you can just enjoy the workout.
Yeah. And I think, with that, we tell the girls, like, from the beginning, once we get you through this onboarding process, you have a decision to tell us yes or no. And I think that's what's missing a lot of the times, and why there are dynamics at play where it's like, wait, why is this just not working out? And it's almost like they understood the call, but it wasn't necessarily something that they could fully step into. And so because of that, they're like stuck into something that they don't even realize that they probably don't want to be a part of it, but they never were given an opportunity of yes or no. And so obviously, we're going to probably have instances moving forward where we have to have hard conversations. But if we can say from the beginning, look, this is our core values, these are our expectations, and 1, 2, 3 times happens, we have to move on from this, because you are now no longer there's no way you can feel confident still being here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's also understanding, like, sometimes people just have different definitions of certain words and different definitions of certain expectations. And that's what you get to see obviously play out in action. But yeah, everybody has to decide if the cultures that we set forth are for them. And if they're not, great, like, moving forward. And if over time working like in an employee role isn't a good fit, there has never been a case where I have ever said, stop coming here. It has always been, you are now our client. And I am so excited about that, because now you get to experience what you love about this place in full.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Without the maybe resentment that you have in having to do a job that maybe doesn't align with who you are, right?
For sure.
Oh, that's so great. Well, as we look at this industry from a broader perspective, kind of 30,000 foot view, there is a lot out there right now. We see more money being spent in wellness and fitness than ever before, which is fantastic. I was just speaking on a panel last week about how relatively quickly we've been in this industry for decades, seeing only about 20% of the population consistently have a gym or a studio membership. That jumped to 25% in less than a couple of years, which is amazing to see. And we're seeing that Gen Z in particular has ranked wellness and fitness as the highest priority spend when they think about their budgets. So we know there's a lot of interest and money in this industry, which is, a great thing. And it's also attracting a lot of, maybe modalities, people, things that aren't necessarily, great for everyone. Is there anything that you would say, hey, this is something that doesn't feel right about our industry right now, or that I'm kind of keeping my eye on as like, I'm not so sure about it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think a bone to pick I have with like the entire health and wellness industry as a whole, and this is obviously kind of stepping outside of like my role as a studio owner, is just this like almost like rage bait conversation topic of like, cycling is terrible for you. You're killing your body if you do cycling. But then, oh my gosh, Pilates is the only thing you're going to see changes from. And then you're not allowed to eat salmon because it has X in it in the ocean, but then you can have tuna, but don't have tuna on this day. It's like, whoa, what the heck is going on? Like, I think simplifying all of it. And so in short, I feel like what's happening right now in the industry, because there is so much attention and so much lore on the internet about it, is there's just such extreme conversations occurring about specific things. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I care about people being healthy. And so if I care about people being healthy, I need them to find the absolute best opportunity for them to be healthy. And that finds the movement that they love and that they feel so energized by, the food that's going to keep them surviving and fueled, and then the people around them that are going to continue to encourage them into that. And so I love the attention to it. I also love the consistency or not the consistency, but this like, okay, so many more fitness studios opening up and so many more wellness environments opening up. But I think what I'm disliking about that is there's almost this like bad, good, like this place is bad, this place is good. And there's these very intense conversations happening around something that I'm like, all of this is great for everybody. People just have to find what's best for them, and let's not like demonize anything.
Right. I agree. The polarization has been really challenging. And I also think it confuses the consumer, because it's like, okay, I just want to do something for myself. Like, this makes me feel good. Don't tell me I'm wrong, And so we end up questioning ourselves and feeling frustrated. But I mean, it sounds like I often ask on this podcast, what's something you would put on a billboard right now? Like if you could get on your soapbox and say one thing, it kind of sounds like that. Like we just need to all move in the right direction. It doesn't matter what the modality is.
Yeah, it's such an individualized world. And when it comes to the format specifically, which is the hot Pilates concept we referred to, like in creating that, I was like, okay, I want to create as many opportunities for as many different people to take at this studio a modality that is going to be best fit for their body. And so from that, we created 4 different types of classes. Like we have our mat Pilates class, which is really bringing in the person that's like, hey, I don't want to like burn 5,000 calories in a workout right now. I would just rather like move my body in a way that feels really, really organic to me. But then we have our sculpt class, which is like, you're burning 350 calories in 40 minutes because it's that intense. And so, yeah, like screaming from the billboards, like there's a workout modality for every single person. There is a health and fitness and wellness regimen that is for every single person. But what's for you isn't going to be for me. I mean, even looking at our careers, it's like my career path is one thing, yours is yours, but it's all working towards the same goal.
Yeah. Awesome. Gosh, well, I am so excited to see where things go with the format and obviously just to watch you continue to shine. I love what you're bringing to the world. And, I think there's so much we all can learn from this, concepts that you have of really raising the bar for a team, letting the team raise the bar for you, and just generally speaking, the risk and being okay with that.
All the takeaways. I love it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where is the best place for our folks to find you if they're interested?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Truly, you're such an amazing conversation starter and giver. You can find me on Instagram at Kenzie Wesp, WESP. And then the studios is at theformat.fitness and at Trueform.fitness. We are only in Nashville right now, but we do have some fun workouts you can do from your house on our Instagram page for Format. So if you're not in Nashville and can't come, you can follow us there.
Love it. And I'm sure soon to be taking over the world. So just wait, friends. Just wait.
Hopefully.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Well, Well, Well.